Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to see a good crowd tonight. We always begin each meeting with a word of prayer and pledge of allegiance. If you'd like to, please feel free to join us. Bow, please. Lord God, we praise you for who you are. You are the creator, the great grace and mercy. Lord, we pray for the city. We pray, Lord, for the decisions that we make tonight, throughout the rest of the year, will be in line with what you want.
Amen.
Pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll call this meeting to order. Mr. Garrett, would you call roll, please, sir?
Mr. Cummins? Here. Ms. Mel? Here. Mr. Ledbetter? Here. Ms. Webb?
Here.
Mr. Jones? Here. Ms. Isby?
Here.
Okay. Next up, we will have our minutes approval from the July 23rd, 2024 meeting. Any corrections, changes, or comments?
Make a motion for approval as submitted. Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from July 23rd, 2024. There are no further comments. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 6-0. Next up, we have the monthly financials. Mr. Winningham, you gave us some good news today. Come give us some more.
The good news today was not good news last month, but we'll talk about something different. Does that work?
That'll work.
Okay. Sales tax, then we're looking at the month of July. Our sales tax last month was actually down 3%. We had, there's several different sections that our building contractors report under as far as their sales tax goes. And there were several of those categories where they claimed rebates last month for purchases. You can claim sales tax rebates if you make purchases over $2,500. And we had almost $100,000 in rebates that were claimed last month. So that's the primary reason for that being down. So it's not anything indicative of the economy. So that's the good news. You'll see we've got our first month of lot fee credit recorded there in the revenues. Our total this year is 1.7 million. So we're going to beat our budget by about 300,000. So we've automatically got a positive for the bottom line right there. Franchise fees, if y'all remember last month, I told you we didn't have any shown, but we would double up this month, so you can see that reflected here. And all in all, our bottom line looks much better than it did last month. We were about 800,000 net revenue last month. This year in the general, or this month in the general fund, we're a little over 1.6 million. So that looks much better than it did last month. In a street fund, we had quite a bit. We had large expenditure. We had almost $1 million we paid for overlays in July. But that's, everybody's happy once the overlays get done.
I caught that.
It just hurts when you had to pay for them. And then the other thing I saw that kind of jumped out on the last page in the project funds, you can see we spent a little over $3 million in July in the pay-as-you-go sales tax. That was an item that I believe was on the council agenda earlier this year. That was, we paid over a little over 2.7 million to RDOT for the roundabout at Hogan and Highway 64. And that's all I've got, Mayor, unless anybody has questions or comments.
Any questions for Mr. Winningham, council? Take a motion.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the monthly financials ending July 31st, 2024. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 6-0. Thank you, Mr. Winningham. Next up tonight, we have a presentation by the interns. Now, is that a TV show? From Mr. Finkenmeyer's office. Come on up, ladies. Glad you're here.
Hi, my name is Shelby Brown, and I'm one of the deputy city attorneys. And we had 4 interns this summer semester, 2 from Hendrix and 2 from UCA. So our first presentation will be with Carter Crane and Alexis Cantu on school bus violations.
Mr. Mayor, if it's okay while they're setting up, Dr. Cummins and I are going to be hosting a Ward 2 meeting on Monday, September 30th here at City Hall at 5:30. And we'll post some more information on Facebook about that and get some emails out to the neighborhood contacts that we have. And there'll be department heads there, and hopefully we'll get a good chance to listen to the residents of Ward 2.
Thank you, Ms. Mel. Who of your interns, who is graduated? Which of your
Good afternoon. My name is Carter Crane, and I am a current junior at Hendrix College.
And my name is Alexis Cantu, and I go to UCA.
And over the summer, we've been interning at the city attorney's office, and we've been researching school bus violations. So what we're going to be going over today is our research of violations of Arkansas Code 27-51-1004, which essentially means that all vehicles must stop in every direction in the presence of a school bus that has its stop sign and its lights on.
So we gathered this data through police reports and the reports made by the bus drivers. We gathered this data throughout 2021 and through 2022. And as we can see that the highest rate of incidents was during the afternoon, and this has been the same since 2022. Throughout, we see that 38 people were charged in 2021, and 28 pleaded guilty, 55 people were charged in 2022, and 47 pleaded guilty as well.
And here are just some basic demographics of who's been committing these violations. So in 2021, females were at 45.71%, while males were at 54.29%. The percentages were almost the same in 2022, with females at 45.48% and males at 54.72%. And then as far as the ages who were committing most of the violations, in 2021, ages 20 through 29 had the most occurrences, and in 2022, it was tied between ages 20 to 29 and 40 to 49.
And according to our data, we see that the bus drivers consistently reported more incidents of stop arm violations in comparison to officers. And this is because of the availability of these cameras that make it easier for the bus drivers to report these incidents, because obviously, as we know, officers aren't there at all times. So having these cameras are very beneficial to us.
Here is the most important part. Why does this matter? Essentially, the children's lives are at risk. And here, and we took some examples of like excerpts from bus driver reports in cases that were. Okay, so here are some excerpts from bus driver reports in cases that we found like especially alarming. Especially the one in the middle where it says 3 children were outside of the bus, 1 child was running to the other side, and the car just missed the child. So these are like the words of bus drivers writing reports. I feel like it really just puts into perspective that this is a major issue that we need to consider.
We've also seen recently in April of this year that there was a kid that was hit by an incoming vehicle as the bus was in a complete stop. And this is a great example of why, violations of the statute is critical. I don't know if any of you guys are parents and have children or any, like grandchildren as well. But no parent should send their kid to school with the fear that they're not going to make it home. And so failing to abide of this statute puts the lives of these children at risk, and we need to prevent this.
Here are just all of the locations of incidents during 2022 and 2021, just so that you can have kind of a visual of where in Conway violations are happening.
So for both years, 2021 and 2022 as well, we see that South Donegall Avenue, Meadow Lake Road, Oak Street, and College Avenue have been the hotspots of these incidents to occur. And I also did some other research, and I found that as of 2024, these incidents are still the hotspots today.
So next we take a look at sentencing, just kind of trying to get an idea of what does the typical sentencing look like for people who are violating this statute, and are the punishments that have been given effective. So in 2021 and 2022 in the city of Conway, people who received jail time were people who already had heavy traffic history, while people with little to no traffic history or first offenders typically had their jail time suspended or didn't receive any at all. Majority of offenders were offered community service and paid a fine. And then individuals who had their jail suspended were typically under the condition of no new violations for a year. And then here are just some facts of like the average punishments given out of all of the police reports that we looked at.
So me and Carter have taken a look and to see if the city of Conway has given punishments that have been beneficial to the offenders. And we've seen that there hasn't been any let me see again. 2021 and 22, there hasn't been any reoffenders. Well, the same people that committed of this violation, they didn't reoffend once again. By looking at this, we see the effectiveness of the methods implemented by the attorneys within the office. However, violations still occur today.
So yeah, essentially punishments are working. So we were wanting to take a look at how can we better prevent initial violations. In 2022, educational pamphlets were introduced as a part of the punishment for many violators. And we think that this is a great idea, and we handed out some of the pamphlets to you today because we believe that distributing pamphlets can spread awareness and also make violators more educated on laws that they just might not have been aware of, and that way they can educate others to prevent these violations from happening again. So we encourage pamphlets to be a regular part of punishments for violators.
We strongly believe that the distribution of educational pamphlets is beneficial to our community as it serves as a way to inform the citizens about school bus policy and the consequences of noncompliance. We also believe that the distribution of these pamphlets should be more enforced as a form of community service to these violators because it can allow these violators to become advocates of this statute. Let's see, other one. Our overall goal is to be actively engaged in educational outreach through pamphlet distribution within the community. By spreading awareness, the community will begin to see that the statute is something positive for us, and it aims to protect the lives of children.
And here's, for everyone in the audience, this is the updated pamphlet that we created based on Charles's ideas that he had about what he thought would be beneficial on a pamphlet, what people would need to know. So you can see we kind of broke down the statute underneath the when to stop, just in simpler terms so that it's easier to understand. And then there's also visuals of where traffic needed to stop at 2- and 4-lane intersections, as well as just a 4-way stop. And then also the penalties, just so that people can understand the severity and the consequences of their actions if they were to violate the statute.
So as stated before, we know now that bus drivers are the ones who report the incidents the most. And I think one of our priorities should be to ensure the safety of our bus drivers and the students by introducing more availability of video cameras to all buses, in which helps continuously monitor and provide valuable evidence in cases of these violations. And with the evidence, it helps capture license plates and often the faces of these violators. Having the availability of this technology will make the process of reporting easier, safer, and more efficient for bus drivers.
Does anyone have any questions?
I have one. Will you have an opportunity to present this to the school board? Because I think they would be very interested in seeing the same information.
I know that's something that Charles and I have talked about. He talked to the bus drivers. So that's something that I think we've talked about.
Thank you. It was very, very good.
If I could just add, I don't want to cut anybody off, but the mention of the cameras, that's the significant part. When y'all approved partnership with the school district a few years back to put those cameras on, it was a game changer. I'm telling you, there are kids walking around now because of what y'all did.
Thank you. Well, your office has been a great player too. I mean,
Well done.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you very
Yes,
much.
sir, Mr. Jones.
I'm just serious, because
Yeah,
I've
really.
dealt with people in Alpharetta, and I don't know what the answer to that is.
I done not have it.
Well, that's true.
Cocktail. I mean, I don't know.
Like they used to tell us all the time, 2 beers.
Right.
Just 2? Just 2. That's standard. 2 beers.
Yes.
Any questions from anyone? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Y'all excited to get back in
you.
school? No?
But speaking of cocktails, we have two others that are doing a short presentation on DWI cases they analyzed.
Hi, so my name is Avery Caldwell. I'm currently a junior at Hendrix, and like Michelle said, we're here to talk about the DWI cases in Conway. My name is Madison Payton, and I'm a junior at UCA. So we examine misdemeanor DWI and DUI cases handled by the City Attorney's Office in 2022 and 2023, and we use the available data from those cases. So we wanted to go ahead and explain the law. Someone is charged with a DUI when they violate Code 5-65-103, making it unlawful to operate a motor vehicle with a BAC of 0.08 or greater. Now, someone's charged with a DUI if they're under the age of 21 and violate Code 5-65-303, which makes it unlawful to operate a motor vehicle with a blood alcohol content of 0.02 to 0.08. Now, here's a breakdown of the 2022 DWI offenses. We had 111 of both kind of cases. Now, 91 were someone was a first occurrence of this. 7 cases were their second DWI, and 10 were their third. And then as you can see, in 2023, we kind of have a similar trend with 119 total. First cases being, first DWIs being 94 people, second 17, and third 2. But we kind of have that similar trend of first being the majority of offenses.
Now, here are some offender demographics. As you can tell, in 2022, main violators were people between 21 and 29, but about 2/3 of them were between 21 to 39.
And then once again, we see the same kind of trend in 23 of the majority being ages 21 to 29, and then once again, the secondary majority being ages 30 to 39. So instead of having a big map of all over 200 DWIs, we kind of wanted to discuss the most high frequency locations of DWIs, which were Harkrider, Donaghy, Dave Ward, and Oak Street. where in both 22 and 23, these were highly populated areas for DWIs.
Now, here you can see times of arrest, where you can see the peak times of both 2022 and 2023 being the hours between 10 p.m. to about 4 a.m. And it's a trend that occurs over both 2022 and 2023. And here are the average BAC results of each year. Now, the minimum of 2022 was 0.06 and the maximum was 0.33%, which again, the legal limit is 0.08. So you can see the average BAC is is nearly 3 times the legal limit.
And then in 2023, our minimum being 0, this was an odd situation. The case got dismissed, but our max being 0.34, which, like Maddie just said, our legal is 0.08, so that's an alarming amount over. And then our average being 0.15.
Can a person live? I mean, or can they pass away from
Yes,
being that?
but these people must have been, lifelong alcoholics.
Okay, like every day.
Yeah.
It builds
Yes,
up.
they
I
got
see.
they have a tolerance built
Okay,
up, I'm
that
sure.
makes sense.
So over 2022, you can see the fines ordered as well as jail time and community work service. Over $120,000 of fines were ordered in 2022. Granted, that doesn't mean that the city has received all of that money. That just means that fines that have been brought against people, a total of 784 days against the offenders that did receive jail time, and over 3,500 hours of community work service was ordered.
Now in 2023, a lot of these cases are not finished, so these are not like a total number of everything. But once again, we got a total of $12,000 worth of fines, a total of a little over 1,000 days in jail, and then a total of a little over 1,400 hours of community work service. And a lot of those community work service hours were converted jail time into community work.
And so we also wanted to go over cases that were found not guilty, 4 of which in 2022 were because of insufficient evidence. And that can be a multitude of things, but and the insufficient blood alcohol content, that can be from the a test not working, like the breathalyzer, or just maybe not having the proper resources available.
And then in 2023, we see a good amount of refusal of all tests, where not able to gather any evidence against these individuals. But then also, once again, we got 4 people with insufficient evidence. So yeah, a lot of times of just not being able to get a proper test done, or just delayed timing of getting it done.
I wanted to kind of join in because in 2024 we've changed some things. Now we've had sobriety court in Conway for quite a long time, but it is one of the options that are available to severe or people with serious alcohol problems. Typically those that are on their second or third offense that have really high blood alcohol content. So some of those people with the 0.3s, they're people that could get referred. And it's an 18-month program where they are supervised by probation. They have a lot of requirements that they have to do as far as community service weekly, counseling weekly, maintaining a job. And then we have court twice a month, as well as they're on a portable breathalyzer machine. One important thing to note is that for sobriety court, which if you've heard of drug court is for felony offenders, and you can get your charges dismissed if you successfully complete it. Is not an option, so this DWI would still be on your record even though you completed all of the requirements. And then the interns did do some statistics about the average number of people that we refer each year. So it's about, 10 people, a little bit over that of, serious people that we're focusing on in the community. And this is countywide. And then for the most part, about 74% did not have any other alcohol-related offenses after the program. And one important thing I wanted you guys to know, so I am the primary prosecutor for the DWIs, misdemeanor DWIs in the city. So in 2024, we've had a really good relationship with Conway PD, and they have been getting blood samples for attempting a search warrant for a blood sample or breath sample in every case, which strengthens our cases. And so we've really been being more aware of the cases as they come in. So we're able to ask for pretrial conditions. And what that means is you get arrested Saturday night, you're in jail maybe until Monday morning when you see the judge, and we're able to ask for that offender to not drive until they're seen by the judge so we can ensure the safety of the citizens of Conway. And then a check BAC is a device that hooks up to your phone, and you have to blow into that device at random times. If you fail, then I can apply or do a motion to the court to have your bond reconsidered at that time. Another thing we've implemented is pretrial hearings, which before we have a trial, we'll come to court and be able to visit with these individuals about the case. So that gives me more time to focus on these cases and more time to meet with people who do not have an attorney and meet with people who do have attorneys without having to have all of our witnesses in court and, having people spend their time from the crime lab or accident victims, which is another thing that we've been really focusing on is people who are victims of drunk driving accidents is having contact with them almost immediately from the incident and keeping them up to date on what's happening in court. Another thing is you might not know that when you have a DWI, the law does not allow us to put you on probation. You can be on probation for almost anything else, murder, but not a DWI. So there's many reasons for that, but it's because a long time ago, backdoor deals, people thought that probation was something that was kind of a way out of it. But the way that we're implementing supervision is that we are, you saw an increase in community work service. That's giving back to the community. And typically what people used to receive is maybe 1 day in jail for their first offense. Now we're having often come to court every month. We're visiting with these individuals. They're being ordered to not operate a vehicle, to not drive, all while we're having them on those checkbacks so that we can kind of monitor them for a period of time. Instead of just 1 day jail, you're out, you're done, you're back in the community. We haven't given you any tools or resources to monitor you. And then as I mentioned, we've been working with Conway PD, and our cases have really strengthened with the blood search warrants and just them team working with Charles and I, letting us know of cases and, important cases that come along. So overall, this has really helped our goals. In 2024, we're on pace for about the same number of DWIs as of now, but the conviction rate is considerably higher, and that's because of this relationship that we've had. And something that the interns have looked into is that in other states, they punish individuals or offenders based on the BAC. So if you're a 0.08 to a 0.1, you might receive a set sentence. And as that goes up, you might receive more jail time or more supervision. And that's something I thought that was interesting that we might want to look into implementing here. So I thank you all for your time, and I think the interns have done a great job for us all summer.
Yes.
Do y'all have any questions or anything?
Oh, great work.
Thank you. Next up, Schwan and I would like to present a special recognition to those who helped with the Spruce Street Development Pocket Park neighborhood.
Hello.
We are really excited about this project and the close on the final home for this project. As you all know, we have done some work with CDBG in the Spruce Street, Pine Street neighborhoods, and we're really excited about that area. It started with the Old Conway Village by providing some affordable housing
in the form of row houses that you see along Siebel Morgan that kind of wrap around into some homes that are around in the same thing with Old Conway Village. But we were able to do a pocket neighborhood with affordable housing to where we were able to provide a down payment assistance of up to $18,765 for many first-time home buyers. So we closed on that final house, and we are excited about that. And to be able, with Mayor Castleberry, along with you all on City Council, to bring an area of affordable housing to the city of Conway has been absolutely amazing, and I am blessed to be a part of that. And I am grateful to those that were working the program before me with Ms. Kiara Aluikin and of course Ms. Felicia Rogers. We are glad to do that, but we can't do that without our partners. We can't do that without our wonderful mayor, and we can't do that without you, City Council, supporting us. And we were grateful to have some good partners that work with us, and we want to give them special recognition for helping us bring this to a close. When I call your name, if you just come up front and we do our presentation, we have Sandstone Real Estate Group with Corey Garrett, Mr. Corey Garrett and Miss Denise Perry. They were our real estate group that helped us with our subsidy homes to help walk those clients through that process. So we were grateful to have them as partners. We also had Mr. Cameron Reeser with First Community Bank. He was unable to make it tonight, but to see him tirelessly work on applications and to make things happen for those homeowners who weren't initially sure if they would be able to get in a home, but he worked his magic and they were able to be approved for the loan and tie that subsidy in to make it work in their favor. And finally, we had Mr. Ron Harris. He was our developer here on this project. And it was such a joy to work with Ron. The heart that he had in each one of these houses was the heart that we had. We'd like to say, and it's kind of an inside joke with us, me and Felicia were more McDonald's, Ron was Burger King, and he's gonna let the people have it their way. But to go into those homes and see the quality of those homes, and none of those homes look alike on the inside, it was catered toward each and every individual that now lives in that neighborhood. And for us to see the tears of people that were able to walk in their homes that they now own has truly been a joy. So I guess y'all can see through this has been one of the exciting projects that we have been able to do with community development block grant funding, and we cannot do that without you all, and we appreciate you. So Mayor Castleberry is coming to do some presentations.
In grateful appreciation presented to Corey Garrett, Century 21 Sandstone Real Estate Group, in recognition of your outstanding contributions to the Spruce Street Cottage Development Project. We extend our greatest appreciation for your unwavering commitment, tireless efforts, and exceptional work in the successful completion of this project. Your commitment has made a lasting impact, and your dedication helped build not just homes, but a stronger Conway community for all of us. August 2024. Today's date, City of Conway, Arkansas. By you yourself. Great job. You want me to read the whole thing back to you? Come on, Denise. Come on. Ron, you gonna make me read it?
No, it takes up my time.
Oh, come on up here, y'all. Come on, come on. Mike. Hurt you in the area.
About a minute. Mr. Ron Harris, he wanted to have a few comments.
In North Little Rock, we get 3 minutes, but they gave me a minute. So anyway, so we talk about the house, but first let's flash back. 1978, came to Conway, Arkansas Power and Light. Arkansas Power and Light sent me to school to teach builders how to build energy efficient homes. Sent me to HVAC school to teach to properly size the HVAC unit so we didn't have to come back and explain about your high bills. So construction and housing was always a part. Well, but the city of Conway, let me tell you something. This is in my closet every day. Conway New Line stuff. All about that. Faulkner County Leadership Institute and that folks. Kelly, I think we're in the same class. Close. I don't know. Close. But anyway, those kind of developments inspired me to be involved, and so that engages a young fella. And now as an old fella, 2015 retired, and an old friend said, "Hey, I put something in the paper about a Spruce Street College. Why don't you, as a builder for 27 years now, why don't you apply?" And we did, and all my subs were just, "Gosh, dog, we get to build on a flat lot." They were just like they were just so happy about that. And so we just went in there and we saw an opportunity to just really do a good job with quality. And so we poured a lot of concrete, and we got to know Felicia and Shawana. I always say when I have my presentations with people, builders, be careful when you select your builder, because your builder, God bless you, is going to know more about you than your pastor. Okay, so and so Felicia and Shawana want me to build a house for them, and I'm thinking, oh man. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up, we have a public hearing to discuss the application submission for the outdoor recreation grant for Conway Station Park Playground for the Parks and Recreation Department. I will now declare this public hearing open for comment. If you speak for or against this, would you please state your name and address for the record? First up, we'll have Andrew Thames from the Conway Parks and Recreation Department.
Good evening, everybody. So all this is we're just applying for a matching grant for the outdoor recreation grant through the state. It's a 50-50 match, so whatever we put up, they'll put up with us. We're asking for $200,000, which we will receive $100,000 back. This playground is going to go over at Conway Station Park, which, if you guys know, there is no park south of Dave Ward, and so this will take us just a little bit closer. There have been plans in previous years to have a playground structure out there. It hasn't been done, but I think this would be a great time for it. It will be outside of the gated confines of the field, so it'll be accessible up until 10 p.m. when the park closes for surrounding community members and their children to enjoy it.
Any questions for Andrew? Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak for or against? Now declare this public hearing closed. And at this time, we will move to the next section. Next on tonight's agenda is the Community Development Committee. First up is consideration to approve the waiving of all three readings for the ordinance on August 27th City Council agenda. Someone make that motion?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve all readings of our ordinances for the August 26th council meeting. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
That passes 6-0. Y'all don't get to listen to me tonight for community development. First up is a resolution requesting the Faulkner County Tax Collector place a lien on property at 2215 Cedar Oak Drive for expenses incurred by the city in the amount of $148.97. Spencer Clausen is here to answer any questions you have about this property. Okay, there are no questions. Is there anyone representing the property at 2215 Cedar Oak that would like to address this issue? Seeing no one, council, I will bring it back to you.
Make a motion for the adoption of resolution R2436. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution placing a lien in the amount of $148.97 on property located at 2215 Cedar Oak Drive. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
That resolution passes 6-0. Next is a resolution requesting the Faulkner County Tax Collector to place a lien on property located at 26 Briarwood Circle in the amount of $148.97. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Clausen? Is anyone here from this property that would like to speak to this issue? Seeing no one come forth, council, I'll bring it back to you.
Make a motion for the adoption of the resolution R-2437.
I have a motion and a second to adopt this resolution by placing a lien on property at 26 Briarwood Circle in the amount of $148.97. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 6-0. Next is a resolution requesting the Faulkner County Tax Collector to place a lien on property at 18.5 Woodlawn Drive for expenses incurred by the city in the amount of $178.48. Would anyone from 18.5 Woodlawn Drive like to speak to this issue? Seeing no one, council, I will bring it back to you.
Make a motion for the adoption of the resolution R-2438.
I have a motion and a second to adopt this resolution, placing a lien on property at 18.5 Woodlawn Drive in the amount of $178.42. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 6-0. Spencer, y'all been busy.
I'm telling you.
Next, we have a resolution requesting the Faulkner County Tax Collector place a lien on property at number 6 Sycamore Drive in the amount of $257.08. Would anyone like to speak to this issue of number 6 Sycamore Drive? Seeing no one, council, I'll bring it back to you.
Make a motion for the adoption of resolution R-2439. Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt this resolution to place a lien on property at number 6 Sycamore Drive in the amount of $257.08. Mr. Garrett.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 6-0. Next is a resolution requesting the Faulkner County Tax Collector place a lien on number 6 Eve Lane for expenses incurred by the city in the amount of $988.35. Would anyone from number 6 Eve Lane like to address this? Council, seeing no one, we'll bring it back to you.
That's a very big.
Mr. Clausen.
Yeah, it was large. I think this is the biggest one we've brought to you in a while. Property's roughly 2 acres. We had to bring a roll-off dumpster. It's kind of an unfortunate situation. There's a lot of frustrated neighbors that had brought this to our attention through our complaint portal. And a family had split apart. The house had been kind of left in disarray for a long time. Grass, weeds, everything grew up on just a property that size. And I can't really tell you exactly what they had going on in the back, but there was lots of structures, or not really structures, but pallets and lots of trash and debris that had to be removed from the property to get into compliance. And we decided to work with sanitation with the roll-off dumpster. They had to empty it twice. I think it was 30-yard dumpsters. That was just more cost-effective and time-saving than for us to run our dump trailer back and forth to sanitation with every load. So we did everything we could to keep it as low as we could, but that just ended up being what it was.
Thank you. Council, back to you.
Make a motion for the adoption of the resolution R-2440. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution placing a lien on property at number 6 Eve Lane in the amount of $988.35. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 6-0. Thank you, Spencer.
Thank you all.
Both of your
Thanks,
crews do a great
Spencer.
job, your physical plant crew and your code enforcement crew. Thank you for the job y'all do. Council, this next one, you'll have here Mr. Jacob Briley. This is a great opportunity for the airport to continue to expand and grow. It's a resolution to approve a grant application submission for runway 422, an extension project, actually.
Yeah, good evening. This first part is just for all the environmentals, all the plans and everything for the extension. It's a big project, which we will be doing the actual extension next year. So we're going to extend to 6,001 foot, which is huge. That will be a lot cheaper for our insurance. If you're a 6,000 foot runway, you get X amount, but if you're 601, it's a lot cheaper. So, which is crazy to me. But so this is just the services fees for the legwork up to this point. I'll have to come back. I think our 30% grant that we have to pay up front, we will get back at the end of the project from the state. So we'll have to pay for that up front, and then we'll get it back once the project is complete.
A lot of great things going on at our
I'll
airport.
do a shameless plug really quick.
Sure.
The 14th of September, we're going to do, it's kind of like a car show, but it's our 10-year anniversary since we've been out there. So we're going to have all of our planes pulled out. We're going to have some hot dogs, burgers, bounce house. I'll give everybody a piece of paper when they walk in. They'll get to go around and vote on their airplanes. So the best overall, best antique, best single engine, and best multi-engine. Central Flying Service, who partnered with UCA, they're doing the flying portion, is going to be giving away some raffles. They're going to give them 2 flights away. Once you turn in the paper, I'll give a raffle ticket. So once you turn in your voting, give you a raffle ticket, and then a couple more surprises too for that. So looking forward to it. Hope everyone gets to come out. It's free. Please come out, take a look at everything we have to offer out there. We're just showcasing what Conway airplanes have out there. So that's September 14th from 9 a.m. to 2.
Sounds like a good grandkids date.
That's right. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Make a motion for the adoption of the resolution R2441. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this resolution for grant application submission for the airport. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Passes 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, next up is a resolution to approve the grant application submission for the Urban Forestry Grant for the City of Conway Tree Board. I would like to thank Robbie Alberson right now for all the tremendous work he's done on our grant applications, and also all of our boards and commissions for all the work that they put in. That's what makes all, you're seeing a lot of grant applications tonight, but it's been a lot of hard work. But
yes, sir.
You're not Robbie, but go ahead.
I'm not Robbie, I'm Ryan. But this is a grant through the Arkansas Department of Agriculture Forestry Division. This will be for assistance for the Conway urban forestry planning and disadvantaged tracts. When the tree board was established, one of the main goals was to establish a community forest management plan for the city. I think this will go a long way in a first step to bring that to Conway. We are requesting up to $250,000. Here's the good part. It is a 0% matching grant. So that's what we have before you tonight. Questions?
Awesome. Good job.
Thank you for the hard work, Ann, that your crew's doing too.
Make a motion for the adoption of the resolution R2442. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution for grant application submission with Conway Tree Board. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Passes 6-0. Next up, we have a resolution to approve the grant application submission for the Salem Road Bridge project. And Kurt, if you would you kind of give the council and the people, the council pretty well have brought up to speed on everything. Let the folks that know kind of where we are, an update on the project, please.
On the project, okay, so let me give you a quick update on the construction on the project. This is the bridge replacement project that's under construction. The contractor has removed the bridge and has started work on preparation for the footings for the bridge. They are still waiting on, right now they're waiting on steel, reinforcing steel to build the actual foundation for the system. These are precast units that will be brought in. And there is a long lead time, unfortunately, on the precast units, so they're still waiting on those, but they're going to go ahead and get started with the footings, this is a good time of the year to do it in the dry, but they're continuing to work on some of the kind of parallel storm drainage systems that are running, kind of parallel to the bridge structure itself. But the project, it's been underway for a little over a month, I guess. And it's going to be a 8-9 month project. So the road's going to be shut down for a while. We've got some, we've had some minor issues, I guess, with traffic out in the area. This can be expected when you shut down a major north-south corridor. But this was done. The decision was made to close the road because of the cost of this project, and that's one of the things I'm going to talk about with this grant application. We've currently have received $3,750,000 in grant funding for this project. This is through the Surface Transportation Block Grant Program. MetroPlan has recently upped the limit, total limit, I guess, that we could apply for a project. Previously, we were at the maximum, but they've raised it slightly to $4 million. So we're able to go back and ask for another $250,000 that would be applied to this project. The total cost of this project right now is a little over $9,145,000. So what this resolution would do would this is a resolution required again to apply for this $250,000 STBG grant for this project. And if you have any other questions about, the project and what's going on out there, I'd be happy to answer them.
Make a motion for the adoption of the resolution R2443.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this resolution for grant application submission for the Salem Road Bridge project. Any further discussion? And you're right, it is tough on folks to have to, but I want our citizens to think about Donaghy Avenue. We went through a long spell there rebuilding Donaghy Avenue, but look at it now. And it moves traffic. And I know it's tough right now in Salem. We've got a lot of projects going on the streets in Conway, but these, as the fastest growing city in the state, we're having to catch up. But I appreciate the job that our street department does. And if our citizens will bear with us, once we get all of our street projects done, we're going to move a lot of traffic in this town. Hopefully not, and also I'd like to thank Conway Corporation for working in conjunction with us, getting their infrastructure replaced so that we're not going back and cutting streets to fix things. So it's a good partnership, and everybody bear with us, and you're going to like it when it's all done. But thank you, Kurt, for the job you and Jacob and your crews do. Mr. Garrett.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Passes 6-0. Kurt's still here. Resolution to approve the grant application submission for the Connect Conway project for the Transportation Department. Kurt?
Okay, this is the same grant fund. It's this is the previous resolution that y'all just approved was through construction funding. This is actually through engineering funding, and we're asking, we're applying for a $1 million grant to help offset some of the costs that we're anticipating with increased cost associated with the Connect Conway project. Of course, we've got a roughly nearly $25 million grant through the RAISE grant for the Connect Conway. However, we have discovered in negotiating engineering agreements for that work that costs have gone up significantly, and what we've decided to do is apply for a grant that would make another $1 million available for engineering services on the front end of this Connect Conway project.
Okay.
And again, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have about that project or this specific grant.
Make a motion for the adoption of the resolution R2444. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this resolution. Any further discussion? And this Connect Conway is another game changer. It's once I probably won't be around, but get to walk on it.
Well, don't say that.
I'm gonna ride our bikes on it. Anyway, council, Mr. Garrett.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Passes 6-0. Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you. And hey, I would also like to thank Robbie for all the work that he's done on these grants because he's the one that put these together for us, and he's done an excellent job.
He goes there and gets in his office, and we never see him until the end of the day. Next up, we have consideration to approve a conditional use permit to allow home occupation and mobile food vendors in an O1 zone for property located at 2138 Old Marlton Highway. Ms. Tucker, would you kind of tell us how this went with the Planning Commission?
Be happy to. This applicant is requesting a CUP in an O1 zone, which is located on the north side of the Old Marlton Highway between Salem and Friendship Roads, for a mobile food truck park, and it's surrounded by vacant lots and his house. This is all owned by the same person. They intend to construct 5 concrete pads, a commercial dumpster, a restroom, which is required by law, and improve parking access. Due to the topical grade and lack of availability of sewer services, it's unlikely that any other development's going to be feasible on that piece of land. So should the CUP be granted, it would then go into site development review by planning staff, and the applicant would be required to adhere to all the conditions that were set forth. I think there was maybe 15 of them.
Yes. 15.
The comprehensive plan calls for this area to be a PUD with mixed use. So this is about as close as we're going to get to mixed use.
Council, any questions for Ms. Tucker?
No, there's been a lot of discussion on social media about a place for food truck vendors,
Mhm.
yes.
They're really the wave of the future, I believe.
Well, yeah, it cuts
Everybody's
that
wanting to put them
overhead
in.
down a lot
Yeah.
for them. And
I'll
smart.
make a motion for approval of this conditional use. Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve this conditional use permit for mobile food vendors. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
That's 6-0. Next up is ordinance to approve the rezoning of property located at 1300 Paget Road from A1 to R1. Ms. Tucker.
Yes, sir. Nichols LLC is requesting a rezone of an A1 property. It's located at 1300 Paget Road between the Woodrow Cummins and Ruth Doyle Schools. They're asking to change that to an R1. The applicant would be able to construct up to 67 homes on the 11.6 acres in question and would be required to follow all subdivision regulations in site development review. The only issues that were questioned at the Planning Commission were dealing with emergency access, and regulations require that any development over 30 houses have 2 access points. The comprehensive plan shows that this area to be a single-family development.
And this,
And Mr. Sanders, the attorney, is here if you have questions.
and this was, Planning Commission voted 8-0 to just be forwarded to
Yes,
the
sir,
City
it was
Council
unanimous.
recommendation for approval.
And I will note that our normal progression from an A1 is to an R1. So this is consistent with what we typically do. So with that, I will make a motion for adoption of the ordinance 02453. Second?
Have a motion and a second. Before we proceed, is there anyone that would like to speak to this in the audience? Okay. No further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
Mr. Jones? Yes. Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Mr. Cummins?
Yes.
Ms. Webb?
Aye.
Ms. Isby?
Yes.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
That passes 6-0. Next up is an ordinance to approve the rezoning of property located at 800 South Donaghy Avenue from S1 to a C3. Ms. Tucker?
Yes, sir. The Peace Lutheran Church is requesting that their site at the southeastern corner of Dave Ward and Donaghy be rezoned from an S1 to a C3. If approved, the applicant intends to subdivide into at least 2 and possibly 3 lots to sell it. The highest impact that could develop in a C3 would be a restaurant with a drive-through, which would generate, I think it's 1,169 trips per day. Depending on how they subdivide, that number could double or triple. The site would have to comply with the Dave Ward Access Management Plan and would be subject to site development review. This is 4.1 acres, by the way, too. The comprehensive plan calls for multifamily development in this area, but there's been other commercial development, as you know, on that intersection. And so the plan's already been overridden. So there are duplexes to the south of the property, and with that being the only residential that actually borders this site. And the pastor of Peace Lutheran is here, as well as Bobby French with CAPS.
Okay, and the Planning Commission recommended 8-0. Am I reading? No, I did not see that. Hang on a second. Staff recommendation. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against this issue? Yes, sir. Would you please state your name and address for the record, please?
I'm Pastor Tom Beck. My home address is 5225 Tennyson Drive, Conway. Fortunately, I have Bobby here to keep me straight.
Who's going to keep Bobby straight?
Folks, I'm Pastor Tom, and I'm representing Peace Lutheran Church of Conway Incorporated, otherwise known as Peace Conway. Peace Conway is a loving Christian family faithfully serving all people by sharing the good news of Jesus and caring for people in need. To that end, our desire is to be a good citizen of our community and serving the needs of its people, both spiritually and temporally. Peace has been serving the people of Conway for 60 years as we celebrate that anniversary coming up here in October. Our congregation provides donations to and our people volunteer at various community nonprofits, including Conway Ministry Center, Rise, Haven City of Hope, Life Choices, among others, as well as providing direct aid to individuals, people in need who just simply walk in off the street. We intend to continue serving our community, but seek to grow in our service to the people of Conway. As you may know, we recently purchased the Summit Church property at 1905 Dave Ward Drive. For the next 2 years, the Summit is leasing the property back from Peace while their new facility is being constructed. As a result, we are left with the blessing of redeveloping our current property in a way that can serve God and the community while allowing us to expand our ministry in Conway. We will retain our current building at 800 South Donaghy, the address of this rezoning, but are selling the corner lot, 1.5 acres at Dave Ward and Donaghy, to a restaurant developer who intends to build 2 small restaurants on that 1.5 acre site. We are issuing a request for proposal to various hotel developers to see if we can generate interest to develop an 80-plus key hotel on that property, on that 1.3 acre lot to the east. The proposed development is shown on the diagram, and our intention is to have ministry opportunities at the hotel and to use our current facility to serve the community in various outreach capacities. The sale of the corner lot is an integral part of our purchase of the Summit, and we look forward to the introduction of the first hotel property on this side of town, so close to the university, which will provide much needed lodging for those participating in events, providing services to the school and other local businesses. It will place new property on the tax rolls as well. As you can see, the development has been, that is being proposed is best served by a C3 zoning as passed by planning and recommended by staff. So we request respectfully that you approve the C3 zoning. Thank you. And if you have any other questions, I'm more than happy to address those. I do have, we did do a phase 1 scope analysis to determine highest and best use on that property on the 1.3 acres. And it came back with either multifamily or hotel. And so I have an executive summary of that if anybody would care to see that. It is redacted on numbers, but all the other information is in there. We also have a copy of our request for proposal for hotel developers locally to develop the east lot. And if you have any questions about the layout of the property, I'd be more than happy to address them. As you can see from the drawings that you have before you, we are not increasing the number of curb cuts on Donaghy nor Dave Ward. In fact, what we're proposing is to move the Dave Ward curb cut further away from the intersection, which will add for safety, and that will then provide what will be a universal egress through the property that'll cut through the property to allow all properties to utilize that central drive there on an easement.
Any questions for the pastor?
I just got one question.
Yes, sir.
Back to some of them later. What are the other churches and stuff? Have you heard with them about this? Anything about having a hotel like that?
We have not. We have not discussed this with anyone. I'm sorry, say again?
Cafe and stuff.
We have not. No, sir. We had our development folks, the Lutheran Church Extension Fund, did all of the scope of work. They did the they did the initial phase 1 analysis. So they went out and they did interviews in the area, but I don't know who they interviewed completely. I just have a broad spectrum of the fact that they went and interviewed folks because they're real estate folks and we're not. So so that was how we managed that, and they came back with the recommendation then to move forward with what we're proposing.
I have a question. I know I've been in conversation with Ann Tucker on this, and she had said there could not be an additional curb cut off of Dave Ward. So there is one showing a new curb cut on here in this plan. I haven't even seen this plan yet, because it's not a new one. Right.
Is that the one that's going to be moving?
That's Dave Ward. Yeah.
Just this little piece.
Yes.
That,
yeah, but that
It would be.
No, I mean, you wouldn't.
You wouldn't be able to move it further away from the.
No, that little curb cut right there really
It
is.
is actually. Right now it goes into a driveway.
Well,
We have it going into a parking lot.
This would all come about in site development review, but the Dave Ward, they would not allow.
We currently,
But just to change the zoning, they didn't have to give this to me.
Right.
So this is the first time I've seen it.
and just to clarify, we're not actually talking about an additional curb cut. What we would be talking about is abandoning the current curb cut and moving it further from the intersection. There's currently a curb cut there that goes into one of our parking lots.
Right.
And it is used regularly. So what we would do is move it further away from the intersection, which would in fact be safer, and use that then as part of the ingress onto the property from Dave Ward without increasing the number of curb cuts, simply putting a new one. Now, if we have to stay with the curb cuts that's there, we would just adjust the plan.
Actually, that
So you're closing one, moving it further down.
That's what they're proposing.
That's
but-
what we're proposing.
But I've got to get into the meat of the Dave Ward access management plan. I don't think this is going to be allowed.
The way it's
I think all of
presented.
the access is going to have to come off of that street that runs in behind
Silver Spring?
Silver Spring. Silver Springs.
That's what I was looking at.
Which
It's
would
like
still work.
everything is being driven to that Silver Spring, and I see a
Right.
lot of people, assuming you could get to Dave Ward, turning right as you head north on Donaghy to get up
Right.
and avoid the light. And so the people who live in that R2, those duplexes, that
Well, that would
I
give
don't know
us,
that that
that would
street's
give us
big
more
enough.
parking.
It's a really, you get into a lot of R1s. And especially there where Donaghy starts to narrow, which I know is behind your seems like it's real far behind your project, but it's really not. I drove down there today at I'd say 3 o'clock. It scared me to death because it just goes from wide to, you know what I mean? And there was a man on a bike and another man walking on the road, and it's a 2-lane. It made me so nervous. And so to me, that just spells city's going to be widening that road or something, for safety issues.
Well, the plan right now actually calls for the lot line being brought in, accommodating for what is expected to be more area that the city is going to be taking, which we're aware of. So we added another 10 feet in for where the development starts. So we're accounting for the additional 10 feet that the city is planning on taking for widening that road later, or for whatever public access they need for whatever they need.
So, Ms. Tucker, I just want to make sure there is no access off Dave Ward Drive.
There will not be. They'll have to replat this once they parcel it up, they'll have to replat it, and this being basically a new development, there will not be any curb cuts on that.
Okay. So that means everything has to come in off of South Donaghy?
Yes.
South
yes,
Donaghy.
ma'am.
In and out?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Well,
I think you can
I've
get
been
access.
wrong before.
I think you can get access from day forward. It has to be approved by highway department and I believe there's a certain distance there. I think there is an access management plan. As long as you meet the requirements of the access management plan, you can get. And it would be only a right in, right out only. You know, they can't
Yeah.
go across.
Here, I'm gonna let Ron explain it.
We have what's called the Day Board Access Management Plan, which requires 300 feet between curb cuts. There is a distance between intersection, which we'd have to look up through site development review. If they can meet those requirements, they can move a curb cut, but they cannot have more than one. So there would be one to all 4 parcels served in the area. Again, I would have to check if it was where it was in relation to the curb cut down the street and where it was in relation to the intersection. But that's something that we would address during the site development review.
Thank you. Any more questions for the pastor?
I had one more question.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Have you talked to any specific restaurants or coffee shops?
We actually have a current buyer for the corner who is a restaurant developer, but at this point, we have not closed on the sale, and therefore we're not allowed to say who that is publicly. But we are talking about nationally known.
Okay. The Come and Go gas station, which is, I think, like whatever that is.
It's directly across the street. Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
The way that I drive up and down David Ward Drive a lot, because I can get to Ulta like that. Okay. But anyway, it's the Come and Go has never affected me. I mean, I can get in when I need to, but the traffic has not. And I don't know if it's the fence around it, the brick kind of enclosure feel. I don't know what it is. But I can just see it kind of getting eventually kind of crazy. It's people go fast down that road as it is, but and it gets crazy. I mean, it gets backed up fast too. So I'm just curious. Thank you.
And I'll just say the concern that I have is the access on Donaghy, South Donaghy. I travel that sometimes 4 times a day. I know you have, it looks like a drive going into the church currently off of South Donaghy, and then the street that is Silver Spring.
Silver Spring, yes, ma'am.
Right. But if you look to the right-hand side of that, you have the drive going in and out of First Community Bank. Then you have a drive directly right down from that you can access. The sign says Chicken Salad Chick. And then you go just barely down, and then you have the development with the lofts that Salter is doing, and it appears there's a drive going into the back of that. And then you go down and you have Moix Boulevard. I think it's just going to be a nightmare on Donaghy, trying to make all of those turns, particularly on Donaghy. And I don't think that it's going to be able to sustain and hold that amount of traffic.
So, Ms. Tucker, I'll
Yes.
ask you again
Go
too.
ahead.
You know, kind of addressing what Ms. Isby was saying, as part of the site review, and I know that's only after if it's rezoned, could one of the requirements be that there has to be an access road built by the developer that goes across all of the property that's being rezoned, so that it doesn't go on Silver Spring Circle? I guess that, because that's not built to handle
No.
what you're talking about, putting a hotel there.
Well, they've already got a driveway coming into the church.
Yeah, but
so,
you got to kind of weave around to get
Mhm.
in
Right.
to the hotel.
So you couldn't do another one within so many feet. I think it's 150 feet. You couldn't do another entrance. So maybe moving that entrance. I don't know quite how you
Ms.
do
Mel,
it.
I would just have to,
I know.
I would just have to look at it and look at the regulations. I'm not prepared to answer all those questions tonight.
We probably came in with too much information
Well,
for a
no,
C3
I mean,
zoning.
it's,
Is that
it's
the
good that
case?
they,
Okay.
that you're being transparent.
Perhaps we should table it?
They told me in seminary I needed to be honest.
Yeah, I guess I'm most curious about, will there be a curb cut on Dave Ward? And without knowing for sure that there could be, which I don't know, and we don't have enough information here tonight, I don't know that I am comfortable with this rezoning.
Well, I am not, especially putting a C3 there, period.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against this? Yes, sir, if you. Would you come to the microphone, please, sir, and state your name and address, please, for the record?
My business, I like to get where I can close to the door, I can run out. in case
Okay, I
somebody
understand,
mad.
I understand.
I'm Philip Griffin, I'm with Woodland Springs Property Owner Association, at be president for West Worth. Y'all have already covered everything over again, but I just want to emphasize one thing. If you can't have anything out on Dave Ward Drive, everything's funneled in that small area. That's the problem. If it was spread out a little bit, it'd be fantastic, or some kind of funneling road that got it down away from that intersection is very busy. I turned left off of Dave Ward in onto South Donaghy hundreds of times a day. There's plenty of times I have to stop just as soon as I get on Donaghy. Just think if you got a restaurant, hopefully would be doing good, have good throughput, and then people come around there and then they can't get in. And so they got to stop or slow up. And now you got people trying to get off Dave Ward Drive. Same thing on Dave Ward Drive going east. They turn right, well, they got a right lane to turn into, and then they got a left lane to that to continue down. But once they get down, wherever that road is, they're going to have to stop, unless for some reason. We have it backed up all the time going into, everybody going into UCA. It just happens. Now, you go down there right now, it's fine. But during business hours for a restaurant, it could back up very easily. And then you got that funneling that's going to go on off of Dave Ward Drive. Now, we're worried about a C3. I think a C1, can it not be a C1 to be able to get stuff done? It might. I'm not going to act like I'm an expert. Going to C3 is kind of like going from 0 to 100. But the big thing about the traffic is coming off Dave Ward. If you don't have a way to funnel them in there, it's going to be hard to get in there from Dave Ward off Donaghy from getting on Dave Ward. And thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I didn't want to keep going rehashing what y'all have already done a very good job talking about.
Thank you. Mr. Cummins?
One of the questions I have, this has come to us through the planning commission. Did we not have more opportunity to come up with some alternatives to look at that? Because that is such a busy intersection. I drove over there today just to see how tight it was. And it's a challenge. Unfortunately, I chose 3:30 as the time to go over there. It's without doing anything, it's a problem. And so surely we have some folks that could look at this property and come up with a better way to answer some of these questions. It's not fair to the property owner. It's not fair to the citizenry if we don't do a thorough evaluation to find out what's best.
I will say,
Oh, go ahead.
I will say that in anticipation of some of this that I found out late this afternoon, I brought the permitted use table, and a hotel, of course, all of this stuff is permitted in C3, but in S1, which is the current zoning, it's all available by conditional use permit. So if they did replat and sold it off, each thing that goes in would have to come in for a conditional use, and that would give you a little more control, maybe. That's just something I'm throwing out there.
Well, I'm gonna throw something out. I've been quiet. I drive down the road a lot, and I know you.
Your
Just,
microphone, so we can hear you.
can you hear me?
The people at home can't hear you.
Well, y'all hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
I drive down that road a lot, and that's gonna be a problem. Turning off of Dave Ward going south on South Dunning. I can tell you that it's bad now. It's bad when you come up South Dunning and turn right on Dave Ward Drive. And I can't imagine putting hotels and stuff in here with one way in. And number two is, I'm not a real religious person, but I'm pretty average kind of guy. And to me, seems like, I know you got people go out and run surveys, seems like you would talk to the churches and get their opinion. That's just me.
You would talk to the churches what?
About
surrounding
the surrounding
churches.
churches about putting those hotels. That's just me.
Oh.
That's just me.
And as I said before, I'm not sure if our folks who did this study, asked those people specifically or who they asked specifically. They did mention to me that they did speak to the university and they spoke to some other places, but they didn't specifically state any of the other folks down the road.
The university is down.
It's directly across the intersection at an angle is where the
exactly
softball
where it
field. Yes, sir. I mean,
I
I know. I'm not trying to
Directly
correct you.
across from there is a track.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the university is down.
Right, it's down Donaghy, that's correct. Now, sure, if we spoke of was that on Silver Spring, you see that we did plan for 2 points of access there. There is a cut through on Silver Spring. I feel as if that would allow for Silver Spring to be better utilized. We are talking about a one-way in and a one-way out on Dave Ward currently. And because there's no way, there's a median there, so obviously it has to be one way going east. But Silver Spring is the street to the south, and that affords an opportunity for plenty of traffic from all of the properties to go down and filter through those two entrances on Silver Spring. And of course, there is the one that on Donaghy there as well.
Doesn't seem like we have any disagreement that there's a real challenge on congestion at that particular intersection. It might serve both the church and the city and the traffic people if we have a lot of questions that are unanswered. If one option would be to table it and give some further time for analysis, but right now. There's been enough questions brought up to take a vote on it right now would probably not be in the benefit of anybody other than traffic. We'll keep it just as congested as it is. Maybe if we tabled it, had a chance to find a better solution to this, it might be better
A
considered.
better solution for what? You talking about? What do you mean a better solution?
Sorry, I couldn't.
What do you mean a better solution? For what?
Maybe someone can come up with a better traffic plan, maybe some additional roads. I don't know. I just know this is too congested to work. And there might be somebody that's real smart that can come up with a better idea that'll solve our problems, but I just don't think we can come up with it tonight.
Well, and even talking to Silver Springs is just basically a half circle.
Yeah.
So unless you push straight through to Silver Springs, that's not going to be an option in my mind either, because you've got those apartments that sit there. You go in one part of Silver Springs and you come out the other. So I don't quite understand the Silver Springs concept.
Well, just that it's another access point that's already there.
It is there, but
And-
it provides a way in and a way out, those people that live in those duplexes there. So if you're going to put all of this type of activity, that's going to basically kill them.
So
I'll just say
I'm sorry.
this, there's no way I would vote in favor of a C3 zoning there.
So council, you have two choices. We can vote on it tonight, or you can make a motion to table it. We'll just either one.
Tabling it'll do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, I'll take a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to,
We always do it to approve.
yes, to approve this ordinance of rezoning property located at 800 South Donaghy Avenue from S1 to
So you-
C3.
It's to vote in favor of.
If, yeah, you can either vote.
So you'd have to.
Yeah, you
No,
understand, Mr.
you're
Yeah.
against.
Okay. Any other questions?
So if we vote this down,
They
we
can't
can't
bring
bring
it back.
anything back for a
Nope.
year, right?
That's correct.
Well, let me say something on that note, before we vote. You're talking about putting new roads in there and all this, it's gonna be over a year before that happens anyway.
Yeah, I was just clarifying.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I'm just putting it out there, it's not just.
And that's all I was thinking about,
May I
saying
say
table
something?
it, and
Yeah.
give them more time to work on it. Because right now, if it's voted down, they can't bring it back for a year.
Well, like I said, it would take over a year to get some roads in there anyway, right? All right? I'm just curious. Because the streets, city's not gonna be the one out to put the streets in there.
Nope.
Just to be clear, if the council were to deny it, under the current zoning code, any amendment application may not be filed for a site that has received final denial action within 1 year from the effective date of the final action unless authorized by the city council.
Which we've done.
Yes. Pastor, do you want to say something?
Well, yeah, what I wanted to say was, because we do currently have a buyer for the corner lot, this was actually being done as a courtesy for them so that they would be able to get into their development earlier. But it also is actually the funds that we're using to help buy the Summit Church, which is where we're moving to. And so it is a pivotal part of the entire process that we're able to sell that 1.5 acre corner lot at the current rate.
And I definitely understand that, but as city officials, it's not up to us to make sure that there can be a sale made, so.
Understood.
And another thing, we talked about this before, trying to sell some land and get it rezoned. We brought this up in the past several times. Instead of trying to sell it and get it rezoned, sell the land that's rezoned that way, you don't have this problem. We brought this up several times, it's come with the same situation. Don't try to put a square peg in a round hole. If it's this way, sell it for that. That's what we've said.
Okay, council, back to you. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett?
The ordinance 02454. Mr. Jones?
No.
Ms. Mel?
No.
Mr. Ledbetter?
No.
Mr. Cummins?
No.
Ms. Webb?
No.
Ms. Isby?
No.
That fails 6-0. If you would, Pastor, give it to Ms. Tucker and she'll tell you what the process is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is our Public Service Committee. First up is a resolution to approve the grant application submission for Conway Station Park Project for Parks and Recreation. Andrew.
Yeah, the only other thing that I would like to point out is that this playground will have a shade structure over it. I forgot to mention that earlier. It'll be turfed on the bottom, so it'll be soft surface as well. Keep it cool, yeah.
It looks good at the Bainbridge Park.
Good, yes, it
Yeah,
does.
that looks really good. Appreciate that.
Make a motion for the adoption of resolution R2445.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this resolution for grant application submission for the Parks Department. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Passes 6-0. Now that's public service. Now we're at public safety. First up is a resolution to approve the grant application and submission for public safety equipment for the Conway Police Department. Chief Harris is out of state. Robbie, good to see you, man.
Almost got out of all these grants.
resolution. I appreciate everyone who filled in for me on that. So the Department of Public Safety has, they annually release an equipment grant. And we have applied for this grant in the past. We applied for virtual reality training and was fortunate to win, I think, 2 years ago. So this year we're applying again, and we actually already applied on August 19th. The deadline was before City Council, and we didn't get it on the July agenda, so I apologize for that. But we went ahead and submitted it on the 19th, and it will be for purchase of 2 unmanned aircraft systems. And these aircraft systems or drones are DoD, Department of Defense approved, so they're good equipment, and it's roughly about $40,000, requiring no matching funds.
Yeah, 39,341.50, and does not require a match. That's good stuff.
I make a motion for the adoption of resolution R 2446.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this resolution for a grant application for the Conway Police Department. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Passes 6-0. Thank you. Next up is an ordinance of appropriation of funds for vehicle maintenance for the Conway Fire Department. Chief, they still got you in the back, don't they, man?
Where they keep me. Learn from him. Just watch at home and
What example?
Thank you, Mayor. Council, unfortunately, we have exhausted all of our funds to keep our apparatus on the road. So I'm before you tonight asking for $140,000 to put back in our vehicle maintenance fund to get us through the remainder of the year.
And of course, you know, Council, Conway Fire Department, they are a tremendously busy department, much like our police and sanitation, everybody else. And you see this equipment on the road frequently. You know, the fire apparatus folks who build them they've learned how to do the shelf life quite well. And so as trucks get older, you start having fewer and fewer parts, and they start getting more expensive. That's what it takes. Yeah, your shelf life about gone, Mr. Jones.
Still looking for parts.
I make a motion to approve the order. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this ordinance for appropriation of funds for vehicle maintenance for the Conway Fire Department. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
The ordinance O 2455. Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Ms. Isby?
Yes.
Ms. Webb?
Aye.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
That passes 6-0. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor.
Next.
Chief.
Yes, sir.
I got a question for you. Where we at on the new apparatus?
So the spec engine that y'all approved earlier this year, it is scheduled for final inspection towards the end of October. So we're hoping to have it on the road in November. We just completed the pre-build of engine 2, which we purchased in 2021. We're hoping it's scheduled for us to pick up right now in April. Engine 3, we're hoping to do the pre-build at the end of October, 1st of November. So we're looking at June, July of next year.
Getting
That new one gets here, Ledbetter and I will take it out, make sure it runs.
Oh,
okay.
no.
We can still drive it.
You missed the presentation we had about DWI draft. Oh, you said
I knew that you didn't fall into that group because it was past your bedtime.
Yes, me too.
Thanks, Mike. Great job. Next up is an ordinance to appropriate funds for the purchase of a mini condenser for the animal welfare unit. Mr. Mitchell. How in the world did you get behind the fire chief?
Yeah, it's close. So Conway Animal Welfare is asking to move $24.15 for the purchase of air conditioning for our dog kennels. Try and get some relief for the animals that we house there, all the time, and they never get any relief during the summer. It'll also be very helpful for our staff members and volunteers.
Y'all don't have any air conditioning?
We have air conditioner in the office as well as for the
Not for
cats,
the-
but none for the dogs. And that's been a question over several years, which we're addressing now.
Okay,
Air conditioning for the cats, not the dogs.
That's correct.
Now, Ms. Webb will probably be okay with that.
I'm
Cats.
okay. Well, I mean, I love all animals,
There
but
you
yeah,
go.
my cats
Now
have
we-
to have their air and their beds. They don't go inside.
We need to take care of our canines.
I'd be afraid
Yeah.
your sister would find out if I
Absolutely.
didn't vote for this.
But yeah, they
I
both
heard she
need
mentioned
it.
They both.
Absolutely. Sure, the
I make a
cats.
motion to
But the
approve the
cats have
ordinance.
it. You know.
I have a motion and a second to approve this ordinance appropriating funds for mini condenser for the animal welfare unit. Mr. Garrett, I'm sorry.
before we
Any
do-
further discussion? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to comment that your social media is just burning it up, which I think
Yes.
is great.
I appreciate that.
We learn a lot more about what's going on out there and the
Mhm.
needs you have and the sweet faces that need to be adopted.
Mhm.
And so I just wanted to let you know it has not gone unnoticed.
I appreciate that. We work hard on it.
Yeah, thanks for taking care of our animals.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Garrett.
O-2456, Ms. Mel,
Aye.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Ms. Webb,
Aye.
Mr. Cummins,
Yes.
Mr. Ledbetter,
Yes.
Ms. Isby.
Yes.
Passes 6-0. And Mr. Mitchell is still up as an ordinance to appropriate funds for the purchase of vaccines for the animal welfare unit. Mr. Mitchell.
Yes, sir. We are looking to appropriate some funds from our donations as well as from the general fund for the purchase of vaccines for 4 of our new staff members to get pre-exposure vaccines for rabies. And so it's with high volume exposure with animals, it's pretty important.
Yes, sir, it is.
I'll make a motion for the adoption of the ordinance O-2457.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this ordinance for vaccines for the animal welfare unit. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
Mr. Ledbetter,
Yes.
Ms. Mel,
Aye.
Ms. Webb,
Aye.
Mr. Cummins,
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Ms. Isby.
Yes.
That passes 6-0. Thank you, and keep
Thank
up the
you.
great work
Thank
out there, guys.
you.
The last item on the agenda tonight, council, is an ordinance to approve an amendment to the municipal code for parking for the city of Conway. And what has brought us to this point is, as you're aware, we have a new restaurant in the downtown area. And they have been using public parking for a drop-off for valet parking, which means that you cannot use it for public parking. And we've sent our traffic control person from Felicia's office down there to speak with them at least 3 times and actually move the cones and move the pedestals and everything. And as soon as he leaves, they put them back. And we have had complaints from local businesses with pictures for this. And so we have really tried really, really hard to be nice about this. But after visiting with Mr. Finkenbeiner, and I'm sure he would like to address this as well, we're going to have to really kick up our fine on this because it is not fair to other businesses that are open in that area. So, Mr. Finkenbeiner.
Yeah, so if you'll see from this is an addition to the existing parking ordinance, and this would only cover public parking spaces. And it does have penalties for violations established at $250 for the first offense, $500 for any subsequent offense. And from my point of view, the main concern here and what this involves and what it's designed to prohibit is any one person or business from essentially reserving public parking spots through the use of cones and
Right.
other devices. Those spots belong to the people of Conway. They belong to the public. And if the public is not allowed to use public parking, then we've got a problem. So my thought is that this ordinance would address that in a fair manner that would guarantee, and that's the point. The main goal is to make sure that everyone has equal access to the public parking downtown.
And we want this restaurant to do well in downtown Conway. We really do. But we have other restaurants and we have
Yes.
other businesses that play by the rules. So
Right.
that's really all we're asking.
I have a quick question.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
is the 2-hour parking still going to be in place?
Correct. This won't
Okay.
change,
Yes, they
great
do.
question. This won't change any other aspect of the existing parking ordinance. 30-minute spots will stay the same, 2-hour spots will stay the same. All the fines for staying over that time, all that stays the same. This just addresses a problem that quite frankly, we really haven't had to deal with before.
Glad y'all caught it.
Yeah, and there are 2 or 3 15-minute parking places downtown, but that is open to the public. So, all right. Council, back to you.
I will make a motion for the ordinance 02458, which addresses the 2-hour and the 30-minute parking, and also plainly states that no person or entity shall block, reserve, or otherwise prevent any person from access to parking in any space that is public parking, along with the emergency clause.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance with the emergency clause, to approve an ordinance amendment to the municipal code for parking for the city of Conway. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett?
Mr. Cummins?
Yes.
Ms. Isby?
Yes.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Ms. Webb?
Aye.
The emergency clause, Mr. Cummins?
Yes.
Ms. Isby?
Yes.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Ms. Webb?
Aye.
Those both pass 6-0. And in fairness to the restaurant, they did come in late this afternoon, from what I understand, and said that they understood and that I think that we will not have any problem with compliance. So that's good news. Okay, council, we go back to a meeting twice a month, the second and fourth Tuesday. Can you believe summer's over?
I can.
And we're fixed to be in September.
Doesn't feel like it.
And
Doesn't feel like it.
can I announce it? Today's Charles's birthday.